Imagine losing everything that grounds you at 19. The person you look up to the most, gone in an instant. What would it do to your sense of purpose? For me, it turned my world upside down. But what if I tell you that this painful moment planted the seed for crazy and extraordinary adventures? And I'm not talking about only travel adventures, but also self-discovery adventures. Welcome back to the Adventure Reignition podcast. I'm really glad that you are here. Today is going to be a very special episode on my personal story, and we'll cover a wide range of topics, including first, how I grew up in Switzerland, and experiences then about my loss of my father, how that moment forced me to confront life's fragility. Then we'll go a bit more in the challenge, how the mistakes, my failures, and also the social pressure almost got me back into what I call the conventional path. And then we'll go through how I found my way to a life aligned with my passions, purpose, and a sense of true adventures. And yeah, so stay tuned to find everything about my story. I will transparently share as much as I can here. And I'm really excited to have you here. And I want to thank you for being here and listening to this episode that is very special and close to my heart. And whether you've been a long-time listener, it's the first time for you, thank you for being here. And let's dive into this episode. But before, if you're on Spotify, please leave a review. Or if you are on Apple Podcast, leave a review as well, because it really helps a lot to get this message of adventure out. And if you're on YouTube, because I started to record my podcast now, please subscribe or just leave a thumbs up, and that would really mean the world to me. All right, let's dive into this episode today. So to give you a bit of context, I born and raised in the French part of Switzerland, in Lausanne, to be precise. And long story short, I've been raised in a middle-class family. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, and my dad was an entrepreneur. He has his own plumbery company. And I was spending as a kid a lot of time outside, but my main passion was, without the doubt, football. I could remember so many times where I would just run after school to my house to do my homeworks the quickest possible, take my football and go straight to the football field to play football until the end of the day, especially in summer when the light is longer, until 7, 8. So yeah, that was my biggest passion between 5 to 25, was really playing a lot of football. But on top of that, I was spending most of my days outside. I would just be on my bike in the neighborhood or in a camping spot we had with the family. Could ride my bike a lot there. I would either be running in the neighborhood with friends, just playing. In wintertime, I would just go sledging in the neighborhood with friends. And yeah, it's been pretty much my childhood, I have to say, pretty a happy one. One really based on being outdoors and doing so much activities with friends. So that's pretty much how I grew up until the age of 18. And that was a very tricky moment because I just turned 18 on December 2007. And as we can go out in nightclubs here in Europe, I started to do that with friends. And I remember it was the 3rd of January 2008. And I was just having fun, doing kind of like a small New Year's Eve party in a club in Lausanne. And I came back, I was pretty drunk. And next morning I woke up around lunchtime, I think around noon. And that's where everything changed for me, because I woke up and 2 hours before that, around 10 a.m., I just heard my dad in the apartment, and it was a bit weird to hear that because he was supposed to be working. And I fell back to sleep, and then I woke up around noon. The only thing I wanted to do was going straight to the kitchen to grab a glass of water because I was really hangover and thirsty. And on my way there is the living room. And when I got there, I saw many people, including my dad's associate, my mom, and I think there was 1 or 2 policemen and one lady that I had no idea who she was. And then my mom called me and asked me to come over and sit down. And straight away I could feel something was wrong. But I really didn't want to sit because I felt something was on, and I wanted people to tell me what was going on. I decided to sit, and that's when my mom said those words that changed my life forever. She said, "Your dad has just jumped out from the window." And at that moment was a bit crazy because it was unthinkable. I couldn't realize it. For me, it was like my dad's gonna come home after work as usual. So the first reaction was not believing it, but very close after this, I felt like the weight of the word hitting my head, literally. Then the lady, I didn't know who she was. I had the chance to talk to her, and she was actually a psychologist. But I remember our conversation was a bit weird in a sense that as I wasn't realizing what was going on, it was hard for me to express feelings, thoughts, and everything that was going on. And she even told me that if I wanted to, I could cry. But I didn't feel like it, not because I didn't want to cry, because I just couldn't realize it. And it really hit me 1 or 2 hours after the news, when I went to see my best friend at the soccer field, because we were supposed to spend the afternoon playing football together. And when I saw him, he knew already the news because our parents knew each other pretty well at this point. And he came to me, he hugged me, and I knew he knew. And that's where I realized, and I just burst into tears. So it was really difficult time at 19, at 18 at this point. But my dad survived. So he lost a leg in the process. And long story short, 6 months after that, he tried again to end his own life. And he finally found peace a year and a half after the first attempt, when I was 19. And he finally found peace. That was definitely an event that turned my life upside down for many years, including those years where it was very difficult, but also after those. And it really brought me to realize life's fragility and the importance of living a full life. And that's only when I started to move on, maybe a year after he passed away, that I reconnected to one of my teenager dream to go live in the US for 6 months. So at 21, I decided to use the legacy of my dad to make this tragedy a meaningful experience for me that will serve me in the future of my life and career. So my goal was to go in the US to learn English. And when I reconnected to that dream, it started to help me move on. And then in March 2011, at the age of 21, I took off 10,000 kilometers away from my home in San Diego, California, alone for the first time. And that experience was undoubtedly the moment where it planted the seed of adventure and self-discovery. And at the same time, I reconnected to the joy of life, exploring the world, meeting new people. So I really wanted to use his legacy to make it meaningful and very important for me. Then, after this crazy experience in California, I came back home with the goal to study business and business development while working on the side. So it was kind of like a program where we could work up to 70% and study at the same time, because I really thought that this would bring me closer to my dream to become an accountant. And that dream was kind of like born because in high school, I was pretty good with mathematics and accounting. And then I thought, seems pretty cool and exciting. So because I'm good at, let's go. And if there's often a correlation between skills and kind of like satisfaction of being good at something, now in retrospect, I don't think it was the right career path to follow, but that was the one I wanted to follow when I started business school. Was like either accounting or end up somewhere in finance. But around the middle slash the last third of my studies and work at the same time, I had an opportunity to work in an accounting department. And I was stoked. I was really excited because I thought, finally, I can test this and see if I really love it. And I very quickly felt disappointed because all I was doing was scanning bills all day. So I would like take the bills, scan them in the machine, and then I have to click on the computer to validate the amount that would be either paid or transferred in different accounts. I know it's not the full picture of accounting. So if you're an accountant, I'm not saying this is accounting, but that was my introduction to accounting, and that was all that people I was working with would give me as tasks. So I arrived at the end of my studies really questioning the conventional path, because all I was doing was like doing my day of work, and all I wanted was to go out to do football or anything else that would just like bring me some sense of joy. And I was looking at the watch so many times. But it has been very a very like deep questioning moment, because as I was going to the end of my studies, I had first to choose some specializations, and I thought I want to go in finance. Then I'm arriving at the end of my studies and I have no idea what to do next. But as I knew that adventure became something important to me, I decided to come up with a plan for the last year to save up as much money as I could to quit my job and realize my next dream to travel the world for a year. Long story short, it didn't start as this plan. I first wanted to just visit one or two countries, and then I started to put more and more countries, and it became this giant adventure I dreamt of. And that was my plan. So when I finished my studies at 25, 26, at the end of 2015, I quit my job. Was quite scary because you end up your studies, maybe that's not the best career move to do. You're supposed to start really working and grinding. I don't know, but that wasn't my vision. Maybe it is for most people. So I quit my job, and a few months later, I took off to go start my dream travel alone in Southeast Asia. I landed in Bangkok, and yeah, I ended up visiting 17 countries throughout Southeast Asia, Oceania, and South America. And I met so many beautiful people. I've seen breathtaking landscapes, and yeah, I've been connected to many people and different cultures that really gave me like a sense of we all in this together, like a sense of connectedness to the human species. So yeah, it was quite an adventure, and I will not go into details here about like 1 year and 17 countries, because I think I could do a 5 hours podcast just on that. But this adventure gave me a fresh perspective on life. It helped me go through a very deep self-discovery. I had so many bus rides of 10, 15, 20 hours alone where I was processing everything that was happening in that travel and the people I was meeting, and also thinking about my life, because I literally felt that my life here in Switzerland was in pause, where me, Blaze, was like experiencing a lot, testing a lot of different things, visiting the world, exploring, saying yes to adventure. And I could like literally observe from where I was in my travels, like the Blaze from Switzerland, and also the Blaze from the past, to really kind of realize many things about me and help me connect it to my values, to, I wouldn't say a vision because I didn't like have a straight vision at the time, but like really connected me to, yeah, just what lights me up at the time. So I met so many people there that also impacted me. And when I came back, I came with a feeling that, yes, I visited a lot of countries and discovered a lot of cultures and met a lot of people, but I really felt that I didn't know anything about life and the world, and had so much more things to see. So this adventure definitely opened my eyes to a new perspective, and it also connected me to something that I haven't told you yet, is creativity. because I left with the desire to share a bit of my adventures with a small camera I bought at the beginning of just before the trip started. And I wanted to share more videos, but I ended up like doing more photography and fell in love with photography, literally. I have no idea what I was doing with my camera. I was just like shooting everywhere. No purpose and really no direction, no idea what I was doing with the thing. But the more I was like taking photos, the more I was improving, and I felt better and better at it. And I met also many photographers along the way that taught me so much stuff about photography that, yeah, it like sparked the fire within me about creativity. And also I was doing a couple of small videos. I was trying to make videos, but it was more like, videos takes a lot of time. So the people who do videos, they know. And first, like taking, I don't know, 6 hours to do like a 30 seconds to 1 minute video, it's a crazy amount of time. So I had this hate and love relationship with videography. But long story short, it really ignited that spark about creativity during my travel around the world. So, and it brought me to this, doing this today, and started this podcast in 2021. So yeah, so many transformative things that happen around the world, but creativity was definitely one of the one that really sparked my curiosity and just wanted to improve. Then coming back from such a transformative and high intensity experience, because I was like moving every 3 days, places to places. Sometimes I didn't know where I would sleep, but on average, even if sometimes I stayed a week in the same spot because I was just tired, I was like moving every 3 days to a new city, a new place, new country, new continent sometimes. 17 countries in 12 months is quite intense. I wouldn't recommend doing that, to be honest. But coming back from such high intensity and transformative, for me, experience was challenging. I really felt, like I described before, that I was living in my own bubble outside of the matrix. And when I came back, I could really feel the social pressure to kind of like conform and follow more of a traditional path. I remember when I came back, I heard people around me tell me that my adventure high will ultimately go down. I had people tell me, yeah, come back to reality, this is not life. And also some other people say, okay, now you enjoy your life, it's time to settle or find a job. So those are like the comments I heard around me when I came back. And without noticing those voices, I was like slowly allowing them to get into my psyche and altering my sense of peace and alignment that I got from a year around the globe alone. So as I came back from that trip, I made myself a promise to never accept a life by default and do whatever it takes to create a life I personally desire, a life that I would design myself, not like the path, the conventional path that is easy and comfortable to follow. But after such transformative experience for me, it was like impossible to just imagine that would be the best year of my life just behind me. Now I would just have to cool down and accept so-called reality. For me, it was impossible. So I made myself the promise to never accept a life by default. But the problem was that I didn't know where to get started with this. So I came back, I started to grow and develop my creation, creativity skills, but I never really thought it was something I could do long term. 2016, it was starting to become something possible, but still something hard to imagine at the time. So as I didn't know where to get started, I decided, despite the uncertainties, to apply the lessons I got from adventure and embrace discomfort and the unknown and make this moment of my life. As I came back, I was 27. As I came back, I made this moment as a series of experiments. And believe me, I tried a lot of different things and I failed at most of them. I could tell you several that I've done. I remember that my focus when I came back from my travel was still to explore and still wanted to travel. So as I was going back to work to get some money in my bank account, I really wanted to find a way to make money while I was traveling. So I look up for a lot of those make money online kind of things, and I ended up following some of the get rich quick schemes, which is an experience, it's fine. Definitely mistakes that I wouldn't do now. But yeah, so I saw many ideas that I saw online, or I bought a course on this, and I tried many things. So the first one I tried was selling t-shirts online. And I spent more than 600 US dollar or Swiss francs buying ads to sell those t-shirts, and I ended up selling one t-shirt at 12 US dollar of profit. So yeah, definitely not a big win. I pretty quickly understood that it wouldn't be sustainable. You don't need a business degree to understand that there is no future in this, at least maybe for others, but not for me. Then I got into affiliate marketing. So affiliate marketing is a way to promote others people's product and get a commission from it if people buy, basically. And my idea was to create a blog, because in 2017, SEO was a big thing. I don't know if it is now, but at least it was easier a few years ago. And the idea for me was to build a blog around something I thought was a passion and create articles to people that was maybe trying to buy that thing. And that thing was drones. So I decided, because I love drone photography and I bought myself a drone right after I came back from my travel, I thought, okay, let's build that drone website where I give advices on drones and reviews on drones, and people will hopefully click the link and buy it. And I got a commission from that. But to be honest, I wasn't passionate about that. All I was doing was reviewing drones, specificities, technicalities. I didn't care about that. So after a few months, I just gave up on that idea. I remember telling friends that, yeah, I'm creating that drone website. And they kind of laugh at me. I would have laughed at anybody else who would tell me that as well. But yeah, definitely not a success. I also started to learn and doing website designing, and I actually redid the websites of my father-in-law. And then I had another guy who contacted me for web designing services, but yeah, very quickly I understood that wasn't for me. It was taking me too much time and energy, and it was draining my energy, so it was a no-go for me. And at the same time, as I was working on the job to get money in the bank, to go back to travel, which I did in 2018, I went back to Thailand because my best friend was traveling also for a year with his girlfriend, and I had some of my best friend as well who went more in South America, but then he moved to Canada alone for a few weeks. So I decided to join him in Toronto, Canada, to go road tripping. And at the same time, I was also working on my skills as a creator, as a photographer and as a videographer. And I decided to upgrade a bit my gear. So I bought a new camera, the one I'm using now, lenses, I had a drone, obviously, and I wanted to take this pretty seriously. And then I started to get some few jobs on it, and I was also creating a lot of video for myself, like my video, if you haven't seen, about Lausanne, where I wanted to revisit my hometown with my traveler's eyes when I came back, because I feel sometimes we live in a place and we just coast the whole place we so used to see. And the idea behind that video was like, okay, let's revisit my hometown with my new eyes, my traveler's eyes, because when I came back after a year of travel, I realized how beautiful my home city, how beautiful my home city is. So that was the idea. So I did several videos, and I really wanted to improve as a creator, but I never saw it as a career path I could follow. I didn't take it seriously. But one of the mistakes I did during this time was to focus more on the money, definitely. And it was the same mistake as for me to go a normal job and settle down. Because all I wanted to do was making money so that I can travel. But first, nothing comes easy, and money doesn't come easily. So that's why I said I kind of explore that get money fast scheme a little bit. And yeah, it was definitely a mistake, and that's only when my focus came back to my passion for creating, and that I decided to focus on that I started to first enjoy it, and then started to get concrete results. But as I was still on that desire to travel, I traveled again with my girlfriend between 2019 and 2020. And that's pretty much where I turned 30 in December 2019. And as I was traveling with her, I started to feel that, yes, I love creativity, I love making videos, I love sharing my photography, but I felt something was missing. And when I reflected on my personal story, my sense of adventure, my desire to explore and live fully, per se, I thought for me, I would be too comfortable staying behind the camera. And for me, it was very scary to say, okay, now I move in front of the camera like I'm doing now and talk to you. And that was really uncomfortable for me. But I knew that was the path moving forward. So then, of course, the pandemic hit in 2020. So, creating a creative business. When I'm in creative, I'm in a freelancer business, doing videos and photos in 2020, 2021, and 2022. That was pretty complicated because everybody was at home and videos, companies didn't need videos at the moment. So yeah, it was definitely not the time. And as I was evolving personally, trying to really think about the deepest thing I would do next in my career, I started to tip my toes into this coaching thing, alignment thing, career alignment thing. But to be honest, between I started doing that in 2020 and in 2021, I wasn't confident enough, obviously, because I always been the guy behind the camera. So when I turn in front of the camera, and being in the spotlight was very uncomfortable for me, and it still is today. And probably it will require even more videos and podcasts like this for me to be more comfortable with this. But at the time, I was lacking that self-confidence, maybe that clarity and that purpose to go fully in at the moment. And I still had this desire to be a creator and to reconnect to my sense of creativity, because between 2020 and 2022, it was kind of like harder to make videos. So at least like freelance videos. So definitely I tip my toes into the personal development and alignment and purpose coaching thing. But I kind of like shied away at the end of 2022. That's why in 2023 I didn't have any podcast episodes. But I always knew that I love podcasts, just like it was hard for me to kind of like combine everything. And I took a break in 2023. And I wanted to reconnect to my sense of creativity. And I had the chance to find a job in spring 2023 as a content creator in a Swiss company that I really love. And they're doing great thing, great vision about public transportation. So yeah, it was amazing for me. But I also wanted to, before to get into that job, I also wanted to keep doing some adventures on the side. So in 2023, right before I started that job, I decided to realize one of the dreams I had since my big travel in 2016. It was to explore my own country. Because I met so many travelers that were traveling and been to Switzerland, that had visited so many places that are close to home, that I never been. I heard many stories about going to Zermatt, see the Matterhorn, which is a very famous mountain here, people going to Lucerne, Zurich, and many other cities and places that I never been, because you think it's right next to your place and you never go for some reason, because you're like, yeah, it's close by, I can go whenever I want, but you never go. So I had this idea to visit my country at some point. I never find the right timing, especially because I was still on a traveling desire between 2016 and 2020, and then the pandemic happened. And I decided to combine my passion for cycling and my desire to explore the country to make this a crazy adventure. So I decided to combine my love for cycling, adventure, and wanting to explore my country. And I decided to make a project that I called Home 26, to visit the 26 regions of Switzerland with my bike. And that's what I've done in 2023. So as I was trying to reconnect to my desire to create content, create videos, create photos again, I also wanted to kind of reconnect to my desire of creating my own small adventures, especially after the COVID period where we were like kind of like stuck inside. And I had a great 2023 was a great transition year, and I really had a good time creating videos and processing that bikepacking adventure. I remember for the story that I met a Canadian bikepacker that was traveling from France to Turkey. And when I met him, I was kind of like in a very tough spot. Like the first couple of days were very tough for me. And he said something that really changed my perspective on life. Even if I kind of like, we all know that saying that I will tell you in a second, but it really impacted me at this moment and came true for me. He said to me, you know, even if you don't reach your goal to visit the 26 regions of Switzerland, it doesn't take away the journey. And in my head, it clicked because I was so focused on achieving the thing that I lost the perspective of enjoyment, fun, exploration, curiosity. I was just focused on doing the thing. And for me, it became clear at this moment, even if it's cliche, but sometimes the cliches are so true that we don't hear and process them. But for me, the lesson here was the journey is the goal. And when I shift my focus from wanting to explore the 26th region of Switzerland to let's have fun, let's do the best I can, and let's see if it happens. If it happens, fine. If it doesn't take away the journey. So that was like the big lesson I had from that adventure. And it took me quite some time to process it. I think it took me around, I don't know, 6 to 8 months to process. And what ultimately happened is that I felt called back to reconnect to my personal mission to share my story, like I'm doing now, and trying to inspire others, people like me, embrace life as an adventure and find meaning in the challenges that we have along our life so that you can create a life of purpose and gratitude. So that mission was coming back to me. And that's the reason why last fall 2024, I decided to quit my dream job as a content creator. It was really a job I loved. Even if I was like kind of like experiencing some sense of burnout at the end, it was kind of like a misalignment burnout. I was questioning my path, and then I decided to embrace uncertainty, adventure once again, and embrace that mission and create that purpose coaching career while bringing my passion for creativity, videos, photography, exploration, and adventure all together. That's why I'm really excited every day when I get the chance to create content, because I can bring my expertise as a videographer, as a creator. I can improve my storytelling, and I can serve other people with all my experiences, all the tools I gathered over the years to help people create that life that excites them in the morning instead of dreading Mondays or dreading any mornings. So now my mission in 2025 is to help 20 ambitious professionals that are in career transition, like I've been for most of my 20s, align their next career move to their passions, values, strength through self-exploration and adventure. Because for me, they goes hand in hand. Because if you spend your time just introspecting, for me, it's like overthinking at some point, because you just like thinking, but nothing happens. And adventure is the side of the things where you're like, okay, I don't have all the answers. Maybe I have 15-20% of clarity, but I put myself into movement to go toward this and then create the vision on the thing that excites me. So that's my mission for 2025. And it's pretty uncertain. I don't know what the future will have in stock for me. Definitely there is money pressure, even if I have enough savings for almost a year. And I wanted to make this happen. Whether I succeed or not, I really don't care. Because I thought to myself, when I quit my job, I was like, would you regret this at the end of your life? Would you regret trying? The obvious answer was no, but I would definitely regret it if I wouldn't take the shot. So that's why for me, I use my own tools and I was able to shift very quickly and to take the leap. And it's been quite a journey so far. And yeah, I'm really excited for what's to come. I will definitely get something out of this. Either like skills as a videographer, content creator, storyteller, or as a coach as well, or listening to people, talking to the camera. I have so many things that I keep improving. So nothing is lost. And it's just challenges and learnings and detours if it doesn't work as much as I want straight away. So that's my journey. If I have to summarize this episode, I think it's been quite long already. Life taught me early lessons on life's fragility and my desire and the importance, at least for me, to live fully with the tragic death of my dad. Then I spent pretty much all my 20s exploring different directions, avenues. I tried a conventional path. I tried business endeavors that failed. I kept exploring the world, exploring myself, tried different things, and literally turned my life as a giant adventure. And that's how I want to live my life. So for me, that's fine. And that's, I think, the way to go. I tested so many things. I remember when I came back from my travels, I also tested a bunch of morning routines. I've never been a morning guy. So my friends know that I used to wake up around 11 and noon in the weekends. When I saw people, for example, running in the morning when I was going to work at 6 a.m., I was thinking people were crazy. But then I shift my mindset and I said, okay, if they're doing that, before to criticizing them, try it. I tried to run every morning for, I think, 3 weeks. And I started to love it. And I still do run, not every morning, some mornings. And I tested many different things to keep that adventure spirit into my life. I connected to the cold in 2018, where I started with cold shower, then deep in the lake, and then cold bath. And I have a cold bathtub in my garden. So, and I might become a Wim Hof instructor in the future. That's something I have into my mind. And I just did the introduction with a friend of mine who's an instructor as well. And it was quite a great experience, to be honest. And what else did I do that I felt was quite crazy? Oh, I also dived 20 meters down, free dive 20 meters down in Thailand when I came back in 2019 for my 30th birthday without oxygen. It was quite crazy. I run marathons and so on. So I keep that spirit of adventure into my life. And I think the most important thing is not about the big achievement, is how would you define adventure for yourself? For some, and I interviewed a lot of people on my podcast already, more than 40 people. For some, it's like career transition. For some, it's starting a business. For others, become a parent. For somebody else, for turning their life into something meaningful. For some, it's to travel the world, and for others, to go climb up Everest. The message here is like, do whatever it is that is your own sense of adventure. And I love to say, to come back to my 20s, I think it's important to have sometimes in your life like moments where you just go everywhere. Say yes to adventure, say yes to things you would never say yes, so that you can gather a lot of data. And for me, my 30s, I'm now 35, so I would say my first half of the decade was really to bring together all the data that I had. And that's how I was able to confidently make that career move, to really give it a shot to that, because it's been combining all the skills and interests and things that made me and makes me me. Creating, storytelling. I did public speaking as well, so I still need to improve. And coaching and alignment and everything. So this, what I'm doing is like a way for me to make confident career move and refine as I go along the way. So to conclude, and it was a bit of a longer episode than I expected. To conclude, I often look back at my story when I tell it in retrospect as sometimes I wish I didn't have such a heavy background story to tell. Because I don't love the game that I sometimes see online of wanting to have a more dramatic story to tell. I think they call it the pity party game. I don't like that. I'm a pretty optimistic guy, and I really don't think you need to have a crazy story to live dramatic things like I did, to be either inspiring or have a good life or enjoy your career. There are several examples of people I'm sure you can find either online or around you that didn't have a crazy, tragical story and still they are inspiring. One I'm thinking at the moment is a French YouTuber called Inoxtag that I didn't know before last fall when I watched one of his documentary where he challenged himself to go to the top of Everest in 1 year without never doing any mountaineering. And I think this guy comes from a pretty normal background. I don't know his full story for sure, but he's pretty inspiring. He's really inspiring me to do a lot of different things that I'm doing now and that I want to do in the future. And he's pretty young, he's 22, I think, now. And he has inspired the whole generation to go outside and leave their phones and their screens behind them. And I think it's pretty inspiring. So you don't need to have crazy stories. And sometimes when I look at mine, I'm like, I wish I didn't have such a heavy story to tell. And because I'm also don't like to be on the spotlights too much, even if now I accepted this, I know how to share that story. And I also need to acknowledge my own past to realize that losing my dad was the hardest thing that I have ever experienced in my life. And yet, it's also the most beautiful thing that ever happened to me because it shaped my outlook on life, my perspectives, and the person I am today. And without that experience, I wouldn't have travel the world and explore and having this desire of self-discovery, adventure, and be in service today. And just be who I am today as a person. So I also need to acknowledge that. So yeah, that's it for this episode. That was my personal story. I tried to share it as much as I could, even if, of course, I cannot go into every details, but I really hope it inspires you to live life as an adventure, because that's been my mantra since basically I lost my dad, and that's something I want to keep doing and keep inspiring people to do. And if I can help you along the way to really identify what it is for you, just feel free to contact me on social media, whether it's on Instagram and LinkedIn. That's the places I am the most active. And thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. And I really appreciate all your support. And I see you very soon. Bye.